From within your scenarios in Integromat, it's also possible to add a module that's going to send out emails. It's really handy for all kinds of reasons, so I thought I'd record a quick tutorial to show you how that email module works. So let's just dive right in, and then we'll start with showing you some cool examples, and then we'll show you step by step how you can actually use that send email module. So the first example over here is, for example, for generating a completion certificate. I also have a separate tutorial that you can check out over here, but what this is basically doing from ActiveCampaign, I'm going to get some data about a contact that just finished a course. Then I'm going to generate a certificate, then I download the certificate, I delete the certificate, and then I send an email to that person with the certificate as an attachment. Pretty cool, right? Another one is my appointment reminder. So I have two different ones, one for calls and one for webinars. So I have a data store in which I store all of these appointments for webinars and coaching calls. So I store the start time in there, and then whenever the start time is within 1 hour, then this scenario is going to start, and then I'm, for example, going to send a call reminder. So in that email it says something like, hey, our call is in about an hour, see you in a bit, something like that, right? And for the webinar it's pretty similar, but then I would say something like, hey, the webinar you signed up for is starting in an hour, here's the link so that you can join, something like that. And then I would update it in that data store. Now, then I also have this one over here. So this is a WordPress module, and this one is going to watch for new comments. And then whenever there is a question or whenever there is a comment, I continue into the router. The router is splitting it in two routes. And then I have two different possibilities. So if this comment probably has a question, so if the content of that comment contains a question mark, contains the word question, contains can you, do you, or help, then I'm pretty sure it's going to be a question. So then I thought it would be cool to send a different email that says something like, hey, thanks for commenting, I really appreciate it. I will try to answer your question as soon as possible. Whether the other path, so this is the fallback route. So if it doesn't follow down here, it's going to follow over here. And then I'm going to send him an email that says like, hey, thanks for commenting. And then, yeah, I just know, okay, it's probably not a question. And if it's a question, it's also not so bad if I don't mention that in that email. Then I also have this one over here. I think this one is also pretty cool. So here we have an email module that's going to watch for new emails in my inbox. So then every 30 minutes, it's going to get all the new emails. And then we go into a router, and then we automatically process some of those emails. So we can, for example, upload attachments of invoice emails, and then we can move the email to a different inbox or a different folder in our inbox. Or we can maybe forward it to maybe an assistant, something like that. Now then another example is my abandonment cart handler. So from Thrivecart, my cart provider, I'm going to get data whenever somebody is filling out a checkout form, but then doesn't complete their order. Then what I can do over here is I can first search for an email in my inbox. Can we also show you that? I'm searching for the recipient email address. So that's the viewer of the cart from Thrivecart. And then then over here, I use the date and time functions to check at days now -7. So basically, if an email has been sent to the person who viewed the cart in the last 7 days and the subject contains your order, in that case, I want to add a filter over here, and I want to make sure the recipient email address does not exist so that I know this email was not found. And then I can also send an email that says something like, hey, I noticed that you were about to purchase, but then you didn't. Do you maybe still have any questions? So lots of different ways you can use the send email module for to send emails from within your scenarios. So now what I want to do is I want to show you how you can set up this module step by step. So I have this new scenario over here. We're starting with the set multiple variables module, and this is just handy for me to show you how you can map these variables inside the email module. So over here we have the first name, we have the last name, we have the email address, and then we also have a URL for an invoice PDF that we're going to add as an attachment. So let's add this email module. So over here we click add another module, and then we type in here email, then you scroll down a little bit, and then over here you find the email modules. If you're, for example, using Gmail, what you can also do is you can also use the native Gmail module. But they work almost the same. So in this tutorial, I'm just going to focus on the email modules over here. So you can do some pretty cool things. So you have lots of actions. You can, for example, copy an email, create a draft, delete an email, get emails, mark an email as read, mark an email as unread, move an email, send an email. That's the one we're going to use right now. Or you can send yourself an email. So we're going to use send an email. So send an email. Then the first thing that you need to do is you have to set up your connection, the connection with your inbox. So I already did that over here. You see here Google restricted connection because I'm using Google Workspace with my domain name. So here maxkollenborg.com. So if you have not have added the connection yet, you can click here add. And then you have to set the connection type. So the connection type really depends on your email provider. If you're using Gmail, then you need to use the Google restricted connection. And then you need to follow this tutorial over here that is going to explain you how you can make that connection from Gmail to Integromat. I have to admit, it's a little bit techy and there's quite a lot of steps. I'm not sure why it has to be so difficult, but if you follow all these steps step by step, then I'm sure you can figure it out. If you're using something else than Gmail, then it's going to be much easier because then you can just go over here to others and then you can give the connection a name. So you can give it anything you want. I usually like to put my email address in there. It's especially handy if you use maybe multiple inboxes in your scenarios that you want to send emails from. And then you have to select the email provider. So if you're using Hotmail, then obviously you would select Hotmail over here. Then you have to set here the default sender details. So email address, that's just going to be your email address and then your full name. And then you have to put in your username and your password. If you're using another email provider that is not listed here, what you can do then is you can go to other. Then you put in your default sender details again over here. And then you have to fill out the SMTP server and the port. This sounds really techy, but it's basically just the outgoing mail server. It's a very common thing. So if you Google for the name of your email provider and an SMTP server, then I'm sure you can find these details. Now then, if possible, also use a security connection. And then again, you fill out your username and your password. And then you have this direct connection from your inbox. And then you can just send emails directly from your own inbox. Super cool, I think. Now then, you have a couple of options over here. So the first one is save message after sending. So whenever Integromat is going to send the email, do you want to store it into the sent email folder? I usually like to do that because then I can actually see what's happening, which emails have been sent to who. So I like to send this to yes, but you have to keep in mind, they also mention it here, that some email services such as Gmail send messages automatically. So I'm using Google Workspace. Google Workspace has Gmail, so then you can use your own domain name with Gmail. So I'm setting this to no because otherwise the sent email will be stored into that sent email folder twice because it's already default happening basically. Now then, to who do we want to send this email? So we can add a recipient over here. So you can either just type something in here. You can, for example, here put emado@gmail.com if you just always want to send the email to maybe the same person, maybe someone from your team. Or you can just map the email variable from one of your previous modules. So I'm going to do that over here. I click add, and then if you want, you can also add another email address and another email address and another email address that you want to send emails to. Now, then we have our subject. So I don't know, I'm just going to call this invoice 123, for example. And then you have to set the content type. So the content type can be plain text or can be HTML. So let me demonstrate what that looks like. So plain text, the name already says it. If you just, for example, say, hey, how's it going? I hope well, and then here say Max. So then if I'm going to send this email now, then we click here run once, then we test it, then you see the email has been sent. Then I go over to this inbox over here, and then you see over here that right now we have our plain text email. So if this is what you want to send, then it's totally fine. If you want to style the email, maybe with like bold text, maybe you want to mark some text with color, maybe you want to insert some images or a signature, then you're going to need the HTML content type, and then you need to write your email in HTML, which can maybe be a little bit intimidating if you have never done that before. But I have a template over here, and I'm also going to put this template below this video so that you can just import it and change it to your own needs. So I will just copy this, and then I'm going to paste it in here in the content. And then over here, you see that we have an email that says like, hey. So then I want to replace this with the first name variable. I just wanted to tell you that you're awesome. Have a great day. Then over here, you see my signature. And here in the beginning, we basically have the structure of this email, what this email looks like. And also here, the end of the email. So basically everything here in between is your email itself. So let me click here, okay? Let me click save. Then I go to my inbox. I will delete this one. And then we're going to click run once. Then we go back over to my inbox. And then right now you see that it looks a bit nicer, right? Like the text is bigger, I changed the font. And then over here we have an image, and then we have my name next to it. So this is my signature in that HTML code. So I think this already looks much better. Now then, if we want, we can also add an attachment, for example. So here we have add an attachment. So this is maybe a little bit tricky because over here, right, we have the URL of our PDF. But to add an attachment over here, it's going to ask for the source file. So you basically need to download that file into Integromat so that you can then upload it as an attachment. So to do that, I'm going to unlink this. I click here, then we're going to search for the HTTP module. And with the HTTP module, we can get a file from a given URL. So I click over here and put in here the invoice URL, click here OK. I will not connect this yet, then I can show you what that looks like. So here I click run once. So then right now the PDF was downloaded, and then over here you see that we have the data in binary code. So with this binary code you can edit as an attachment. So if I connect this now, click here a little auto align, the magic wand, and then go over here, add an attachment, then right now source file, you see that we can just select this module over here. It's also like bouncing in and out, right? And if you want, you can also click map, because if you do it like this, then the standard file name I think is going to be something like file.pdf. But if you want, you can also rename that file. You can maybe say invoice.pdf. And then over here we have the data that you should just leave over there. Click here add, click OK, click save. Then now I'm going to delete this again. We click here run once. So then we get our data, it's going to download the PDF, it's going to send the email, and then we go over here. And then you see that we have our email, and then also the invoice was added as a PDF over here as an attachment. Pretty cool, right? But one thing that I do not like so much with this setup yet is that over here it says hello at Max van Collenburg. So it doesn't say my name over here, and that's because we have not set the sender details yet. So to set the sender details, in this case, because I'm using Google Restricted Connection, what I have to do is I have to go to Show Advanced Settings. And then down here, you see some other options that you have. So you can also take a look at those. You can, for example, also add a priority, references, reply to, in reply to. But we want to set the from over here. And then this text also, Danilo is going to explain it. But what you can do is you can either enter the email address you want to send it from, and then it's again just going to show it like this. But we can also add a name between quotation marks and then a space. So then it looks like this over here, right? Click here OK, click save. I will delete this email. Then we're going to click run once to test it again. And then now if you go to my inbox, we refresh the page. Then you see over here that it already says my name, and also here it says Max van Collenburg. And if we go here, then you see from Max van Collenburg, hello at maxvancollenburg.com. So it already, everything is correct over here. So that is basically how you send emails from within your scenarios in Integromat. It's not too difficult, but there are like some little things that you maybe had to know. So I hope that this is helpful. And if you have any questions about this or any of the examples that I showed you in the beginning, I know I went a little bit quick over those, but if you maybe want to see a separate tutorial about any of those, then just let me know in the comments below.